How's it going, subscribers? It's me again, back here on Injustice 2. It is Dynamic Gaming and aka Imperial Strike. And again, I'm here to bring you another Turtles video. Kinda actually loving them today. So again, now I'm doing the breakdown video, and it's going to be for Michelangelo this time. I'm going to be fighting Raphael just for the fun of it. Not a real match, but you know, make sure that competitive mode is on so you guys are seeing real damage and all that fun stuff. So, with Mikey, he has the very similar moveset with Leo as I've done in the previous video. I might leave that link down in the description below. I'm trying to work on that. So he has the same strings as, you know, Leo and the rest of the Turtles. They all have very similar movesets. Like I've stated in the previous videos, they all have a dive kick, they all have this shell shock, and they all have this overhead shell. After that, though, is where their moves generally start to differentiate. So with Michelangelo, for example, his back forward triangle is this nunchuck fury. I love seeing that, it looks so cool. He also has a low spinning attack where he spins on his shell. That and both of those moves I just showed can be meter burned, and both of them launch so that he can start to get a little bit more damage. Now Mikey, in my opinion, is the up close, in your face turtle that needs to be at a moderate range. So he's not quite as at a range as, say, Leo or Donatello. He does have to be closer up. But he also has some crazy mix-up options, and one of the main reasons why is because of his trait. So a lot of people don't really think about it all that much, I guess, but he actually has quite a few different options from his trait. Now his trait is this skateboard that he chooses to ride, and as you can see I can cancel it at any time as well, and it rebuilds very quickly if I end up doing a cancel, which is pretty cool. So I haven't really messed with it too much when it comes to comboing from cancels. So if I do like 1-1 cancel, can I end up, you know, comboing from it again? I haven't really quite messed with it that much. But when it comes to combo potential and how to open up your opponent, or possibly just, you know, get around zoning options, he does have some pretty cool capabilities. So as I'm showing off right now, the options that he has this skateboard which automatically rides in anyways. It doesn't move that fast, and I don't think it really should because of the options that he has from it. But basically, from this skateboard, he can throw the skateboard physically with his feet from almost full screen, and I think it is actually full screen. And it does act as a mid attack that the opponent has to block. The other two options that he has, though, is from a little bit of a closer range. He can actually basically almost full screen low, this low as well as this overhead, both, and sorry I dropped the overhead, both end up launching for full combos. So with a lot of people, they've been asking, oh okay, well with Mikey up close I've been struggling with being able to get damage, I've been struggling with being able to end up opening for full combos. And that's because most people are really trying to rely on trying to cancel into like Nunchuck Fury, or they're trying to really rely on this low meter burn cancel. One of the two is usually what most people are canceling on. Now I do have to say, when it comes to mix-up options, I am not saying don't ever use this, because it does at least do some damage. So if you were to do something like this, for example, oops, not that. If you were to do something like this, just as an example, that was a dropped combo on accident, but if you were to do something like this, you could get decent damage off of the, I believe it's like back 2-2-3. That's going to be one of the main strings that I use today with Mikey, just letting you know. Every turtle that uses back and either 1 or back and 2, they always use their weapons. So with Mikey, back 1 and back 2, he starts actually using his nunchucks. And this is what gives him a somewhat of ranged normals, but not amazing range. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It's just kind of meh. In my opinion, it needs to be faster due to his lack of damage and to his lack of being safe, because a lot of his stuff is somewhat negative or punishable on block. Alright, so back to what I was saying about combo launching. When it comes to this meter burn sweep, the best thing that you can really do from it, or at least in my opinion, consistently do from it, is after you meter burn it, it seems to be that after you do a jab, which is just a standing one, you want to do the back 2-2-3 string into a shell shock, and you want to cancel it before that last hit. That last hit is a mid. You can cancel it right before that last hit, and you can end up following it up with a shell shock instead. So that would be like one of the max damage situations. So if you were like, oh, let me mix up overhead low into some damage. I'm not even getting the jab right now. Oh, I dropped the last part, dang it. It's actually not that hard to hit. I'm making it look a lot harder than it is. There we go. Got it that time. He gets around like, say, 250 to 300 damage in my opinion on average. But what's good about him is up close, you don't have to cancel into these meter burn options. You can, which is a nice bonus, or if you actually do touch your opponent, you can always just meter burn this Nunchuck Fury, and that actually launches and you're able to get a back 3 off of it. Just as an example, that was a really crappy conversion, but you know, basics for now. Anyway. What you can do though for mix-up options is his low skateboard and his overhead skateboard. The reason why these are so good is because I can do any string and it's still combos. It's basically the Donatello version of... Or sorry, no, it's Mikey's version of the Donatello trait that Leo has. Whenever Leo calls in Donatello, he has an overhead launcher. Mikey has that exact same thing, except instead of it just being an overhead, it can be a low as well, and it full combo launches. Just for example. So of course, he also has the same setups when it comes to the crossover shell as well. Every turtle has that. It's not really all that impressive or anything. But, you know, we'll figure out like the better damaging stuff as time goes on. But for now, I'm here just to show the basics and what's what. So I didn't get to touch on this in the previous video either. In this video, I also want to touch on what exactly there are when it comes to gaps. Because with Mikey, his gap game is part of his mind game. So for example, if I was to set the AI, or whoever's blocking, to always block, and their reversal is to dash back. So if there is ever a gap in any string, they're going to be able to backdash that gap. So for example, 1-1, even though it's plus on block, there is actually a gap that can be backdashed. Same thing for 1-3, that gap can also be backdashed. There's also a lot of other things that have gaps in it, that some of his strings, so for example I just did one there, that some of his strings, if you cancel it into certain special moves, you can catch your opponent trying to backdash, trying to armor, trying to do other things. So for example, his Nunchuck string, which is back 2-2-3, there are no gaps in it. But if you try to cancel it into anything, there is a gap. Now of course, as you see there, if I do cancel it into like a leg sweep or anything, it will catch my opponent if they try to backdash. And normally there is not a gap anyways. So for most people out there, I would suggest just eating or blocking low for Mikey most of the time, and then trying to react to an overhead shell, because that overhead shell is technically reactable and technically can be interrupted. Okay, so back to the basics with Mikey. When it comes to his combo potential, I'm going to set the AI to go back to how it was. Off of the overhead, he can land a back 3. Off of the low, he can land a back 3. Wow. Wow, okay, game. Struggling a little bit. Come on, it's not that hard. There we go. But off of the low and the overhead, he's able to full combo launch. That's just off of his trait alone. So up close, I can choose to go overhead low, or I can choose to go overhead. Actually, that string by itself with Mikey is different as well. Mikey has a naturally low hitting string off of that, and this is part of the mix-up game. So if I go overhead, and instead of wanting to go low, I can actually pull out my skateboard and actually do a launching overhead again. The reason why I went over him that time, and this is just something to let people know, the skateboard, you do have to direct it whenever you're using it. So for example, if you want to use that, it's called an axle slam. It has different ranges on it for which you can use it. So for an example, I'm going to use a close one from this distance, and it whiffs completely. And then I can also use a far one from this distance, and it does actually link, which is also kind of cool because that means from a distance I can go surprise, low or overhead. But up close, it also means that off of strings, I can end up canceling it for full combo conversions. So for example, double low, full combo. Or for example, double overhead, full combo conversion. You can also end up using the skateboard just in general, because I don't believe it's that negative on block. Let me check here. Yeah, you can actually throw the skateboard from this distance, and on block, it's actually plus. So you're still guaranteed a down one unless a character has like a 6-frame down one or faster. If they don't try to challenge with a down one, your down one is going to beat anyone else's. And like with Mikey, I don't think that combos. Yeah. With Mikey, the only thing you'd be able to do off of a down one if you want damage is you'd be able to possibly spin. But again, that'd be a risk, because if they choose to respect you, then this is just a risk. But if they don't respect you, then they're going to get opened up by it. When it comes to other gaps as well though, so like I said, this 1-1 string does have a gap if they're blocking, even though it is plus on block. If you finish the entire string, because the whole string is 1-1-2, the last part will actually catch them if they try to end up backdashing out of it. As you can see there, the last part will catch. And if you read that correctly, like with Mikey, you can end up just following it up with like a turtle bash or something. In the corner, you'd be able to follow up with more things because the string launches in the corner. I'm really bad at converting off of this as of right now, though. I'll get better at it as time goes on, but I'm just showing you the basics for now. So when it also comes to Mikey's punishing or possibilities, his only launching like special moves are his Nunchuck Fury and that Shell Mill, which is on the ground, in addition to Bombshell, but that's not exactly always viable because it's so slow. But as you can see, even the Shell Mill, it's not fast, it's somewhat fast, it's not slow, which is decent, but his Nunchuck Fury is honestly, it needs to be shaved off when it comes to how slow it is, because it's hella punishable. Well, it's decently punishable if you have a somewhat fast attack in the game. So it's punishable, and you can end up being punished just for trying to throw this out there because it's so slow on startup. You definitely can't wake up with it. This is definitely your only wake up option for sure. Other than that, I mean, you could possibly wake up with that, but it will get stuffed if you try to wake up with it and your opponent is like expecting you to try to mash buttons. But when it comes to his Nunchuck Fury, if the opponent is not blocking and I am trying to just get a conversion from it, you can meter burn it, and as I've done in the past, you can actually get a back 3 from it. And after that, it's up to you for what you want to connect. But for me, I've been really trying to end up using the back 2-2-3 into a Ninja Turtle shell. That seems to be getting the most damage. Mikey does not hit that hard, but he mixes like crazy. That's really what it's up to with him. And in my opinion, he's not the best because he is either really unsafe for a lot of his mix-ups, and even when he does get his mix-ups, it's not like Flash where he ends up getting crazy damage off of like one hit. However, there is this that I do need to mention. His low hitting down back 2, it does work very similar to Flash's, where if I'm mixing you mid-screen or even in the corner, and if I'm going like overhead low, or if I'm going low low over and over, on hit it is plus, I believe, 9 frames. So if I do hit you with this move and I don't meter burn it, you are eating my next mix-up. It's a guarantee. You cannot push buttons. There's no character in the game that can. There's no armored move that comes out fast enough. Unless even if it's a super, and even then, Mikey hits fast enough that it might break super armor. Depending on what you use, like if I use this, it might break super armor. But again, even off of that, and this move alone is what makes him terrifying, it puts you in that same state of, oh, I have to guess again, and then if I guess wrong, if it's an overhead or low, he can still cancel into something that's safe on block, like say a skateboard cancel. And if I use the skateboard, if we go to the like actual frame data, if I throw the skateboard at you from close range, I'm still going to be plus. If I do an axle slam, I'm negative, and I am 1 frame away from basically being considered not punishable. That's how close it is. The only one that is really punishable though is the low. The low is the one that is the most punishable, but it can be worth it because it also full combo launches. That's pretty much how Mikey plays altogether. There's not really all that much more to talk about with him when it comes to his different types of attacks, etc. He's a more basic character than the other turtles in my opinion. He still does have the alternate endings to strings like this. So with Mikey though, it's basically, this is like his only overhead when it comes to combo strings, and everything else is either a mid or a low unless it's his skateboard, which in my opinion this can be reacted to. I don't think it's all that fast. I think it can be reacted to on block. But, you know, it does take commitment, but if it does pay off, it's just not a big enough payoff, in my opinion, for how unsafe that the character is. Some of his links are also pretty difficult, like the meter burn nunchucks. The back 3 to get off of that is actually kind of deceivingly difficult to get sometimes. It does have the same timing, but it's a little bit weird. That's pretty much Mikey in a nutshell, to be honest. There's not really anything else that he has that is really all that, like, shockingly amazing. That's really all that he has. In order to cover his gaps in any of his strings, he has to go for something that is unsafe, and it would be on a read on whether your opponent's going to try to backdash or jump or do something else. And that's really it. I mean, that's Mikey in a half shell. Had to make at least one pun in there. So I don't know about y'all, but it is basically Valentine's Day. I forgot to say happy Valentine's Day to all of you new viewers out there. I really hope that you guys are enjoying the content that I release. Hopefully going to be releasing more. I'm really hoping to get some sponsorship in here. I'm really hoping to end up posting some videos of going to big tournaments. If you really like what you see, I would love the support. I need every subscriber that I can get. Alright, much love y'all. Hope you have a good Valentine's Day. Peace.